impulse centers down.
Then give him 50,000 volts to activate his memory monitor.
Starscream, why are you so concerned about this creature?
Because I knew him once, a long time ago on Cybertron. Again, this time 1,000,000 volts.
Also, cyber motor relays are useless.
Both explorers from Cybertron.
That must have been shortly before our final falling out with the Autobots.
Yes, Skyfire and I were exploring what was an uncharted...
John here, guys, and today we're talking about the Emax Tinyhawk. And I have it here today with Jetfire because these are two of the things that I have coveted the most in my entire life. And I can tell you, if you look closely at this Jetfire, that it's actually not real. About 12 or 15 years ago, I just went crazy on eBay grabbing up all the original Gen 1 Transformers that I had as a kid, or that I wanted, and this was one of the ones that I really wanted. In fact, I actually found it one time at a secondhand store when I was with my grandmother. I was probably like 7 or 8 years old. And I had it. It was missing the armor, and one of the legs was messed up, but it was pretty cool. That didn't survive my childhood. Don't know where that went, but I was able to find a knockoff that was painted the Macross colors, and I painted it. So I think it goes very well with the color scheme of the Tinyhawk. And I can tell you that this is a game changer. Now, if you followed my channel for any length of time, you know that I am big on micros, and I have long since been on a quest to find the ultimate, the perfect micro that can go with you both indoors and outdoors. Now let's take a look at this Emax Tinyhawk. Now, some of the things that you will notice that you may have seen on some of the other videos. I'm sorry I didn't get my review out Friday like some of the other guys, but I just didn't have the time. Now let's quickly do a side-by-side with the Snapper 7, and you can see that they are quite similar in size. Now I have the Fat Shark HDOs up there because normally I run two of these VAS switchblade antennas that allow you to switch from left hand to right hand, but today I'm running this Bandicoot 5.8 gigahertz linear antenna because these little tiny things have linear antennas in there. Now, I know that it's been said on some of the reviews of the Tinyhawk that it does not have an external antenna in there, but it does. It has a linear dipole antenna. It runs underneath the canopy right here, and the receiver antenna runs on the other side. Just a beautiful, incredible design. But what you'll notice about the motors on the Tinyhawk, not only are they flipped upside down, but they're quite a bit larger. Even though the footprint of these things is very similar, in fact, you would basically infer that this is like, you know, a Stretched X version, and this would be like a True X version of the same size thing, but the motors on this are bigger, make no mistake. And the motors on the Tinyhawk have bearings. Yes, that's right. Many of the motors on these tiny little quads have no bearings, and the wires are chintzy. I said on my other video that they are made of used aged belly button lint, I think is what I said. And this thing is really driving me crazy. There you go. These are quite a bit more substantial. These are 08.25 versus these, I believe these are 0703. So quite a bit larger motors, and they actually have bearings, and the wires on these are much more substantial, much better. And the problem on the wires of these little things like the Snapper 7 was right here at the ends where they go into the motor. The winding wires that these ultimately connect to were just so tiny that they would break if you just glanced at them the wrong way. This I don't feel like is going to have the same problem. The design of this, like I said, is amazing. I took it apart I wish I would have took some pictures and got it on camera, but maybe I will for a follow-up video. Oh, it is just beautiful the way that they've laid this board out. And you can see that the board actually runs up and down right here. And you have your receiver built into this F4 board that has your ESC also built in. And then you have an external VTX that sits on top, very similar to the way that the Magnum stacks fit together. It has pins in there that connect this tiny little VTX, and right underneath the VTX is the USB micro port that allows you to talk to the flight controller. So very easy setup. Everything was set up from the go. I actually just went in there, set up my switches, and it was ready to go. I bound it up to my QX7S with no problems at all. Now, one thing I will note is that first I thought something was wrong with my VTX. I was getting a lot of static, and that's what prompted me to take it apart. And I foolishly didn't snap some pictures, like I said. But it's very easy. It's just 4 little screws. Now, the kit that this comes with, this thing right here that's been shown on some of the other videos already, it comes with a few extra screws for your motors. This little 4-in-1 charger that's already been shown, little instruction packet, and an extra connector for your battery. But it does not come with a screwdriver, which I thought was kind of strange. The Snapper 7, the UR65, all those come with tiny little screwdrivers to remove these tiny little screws. This one does not, and I actually found that I don't own a screwdriver in my house other than the one that came with the Snapper 7 that's small enough to work on this. So just a note, Emax, you may want to include one of those. That's okay. Like everyone has shown, this box is absolutely beautiful. It's awesome. If you own something like a QX7S, you'll be familiar with this type of box. It's very similar. It has it's sturdy walled, so it's not going to collapse on itself, and it has a really cool almost weave. It looks almost like carbon fiber, although it's not, but very, very cool. This thing is a game changer, guys. The stability in the air is greater than, I think, even any 5-inch quads that I own, at least when there's no wind inside. I mean, it is so stable. I never really thought that the F4 chips would make that much of a difference. I don't know if it's the F4, I don't know if it's the props orientating down, I don't know if it's the duct design, but this thing is so stable, I can't believe it. I'm going to show some footage going through, winding through chairs, going up and down the stairs. Oh my gosh, it's just so stable, I can't believe it. It almost doesn't feel like this could be possible. The control that this thing allows you, I have been searching for the perfect indoor-outdoor micro for ages. I'm not quite sure if this is it because I haven't taken it outside yet. I'm gonna have to wait till tomorrow. Maybe I'll get a flight or two outside and show it in the dark and see how the camera looks there. But man, this thing is simply amazing. Now, the batteries that fit in the Snapper 7 are also those 450 milliamp HVs, so I'm going to be using those same packs so I can get a little bit extra flight time. This thing only ships with 1 battery, so take note of that. I feel like in a crash, the camera is very well protected, even though it protrudes, because when you go like that, it's just going to flip over, and this roll cage type thing really offers a tremendous amount of protection there. Now, these props do look very proprietary, and I don't believe they're for sale yet, but I don't know if you're going to crack too many of them. Now, them being on the underside may mean that you might get a little extra hair up in there, but we'll see. I switched to hardwood floors very recently, so most of the hair I would get was on the first floor there, so that may not be a problem. Now, the hard wood tile, or whatever you want to call that, may present a problem in crashing, but I think this is really going to be a revolutionary product. Kebab said that he feels like this could be a standard. I would definitely have to agree. The original Emax Baby Hawk was kind of a game-changing product, but it felt like definitely like a revision 1 of something that was going to mature. It was what I considered the very first indoor/outdoor flying quad, and because of the ducts that are kind of similar to this, I felt really comfortable flying it around my nieces and nephews, not worrying about them getting clipped. This thing is just amazing. This feels like more of a true successor to that. The Baby Hawk R was so powerful with the 1106 motors that it had that you really couldn't comfortably fly that in your house. It was too heavy, almost 100 grams. This thing is under 30 grams. I believe it's right at 40 with a battery, so you're not going to be worrying about hitting people or something like that. Now, what's the speed? How much lower is the speed on this? Well, I read some stats this week that the UR65 tops out about 20 miles an hour. This thing tops out about 35 miles an hour. I do remember the original Baby Hawk clocking on a video right around 43 or 44 miles an hour, and the Beta 75X, whatever that 2S thing that just came out, is right at 45 miles an hour. And I'm not sure how fast a Baby Hawk R goes with like 2.5-inch arms or 2-inch arms. It's probably somewhere around 50 to 60. So this is kind of right in the middle ground. I'm not sure if you could really comfortably fly this in an outdoor race setting at all, but whoop races, this thing will dominate. This is definitely the new standard. I can't see any brush whoop beating this. The control is just so substantial, and the top end speed is going to be so much more at 35 miles an hour. Now, because of this ducted design, I do believe wind could present a problem, especially with how light it is. So you're not going to be flying out in any big winds, but that generally goes for a lot of your smaller quads. I mean, even a 2.5-inch that I was testing earlier before this came in, it was having some trouble with some pretty heavy winds that we had earlier. So that's kind of par for the course. Anyway, I've talked enough. Let's cut to the footage. You guys tell me what you think in the comments. I'm going to be coming up with a series of these videos where I'm going to set up my timer, build a little track, and maybe do some comparison flights with the Snapper 7. I also got the Mobula 7 on pre-order, so we'll see how that 2S compares. I don't know. This thing is so stable, though. I mean, I was blown away watching Kabal's flight footage, so I'm gonna attach his review to this as well. I thought I was pretty good at indoor flight, but this guy is on another level. And I think it's this Tinyhawk right here that enables that type of flight. So thanks, guys. Music for this whole video was provided by Rick D. Link to his info in the description. Thanks, man.